Hey, everybody. We are live at Pace Studios right now with Rhiannon Giddens and Francesco Teresi. Thank you both so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. And congratulations to you both, because There Is No Other is coming out on Friday on None Such, and we're about to hear 3 songs from it today. Can you tell us what you're going to start out with?
Well, we're going to start out with probably the most familiar song for a lot of people. It's one that's been done a lot of different ways. I don't think ever in this particular way, with banjo and accordion. So we'll just start it. I am a poor wayfaring stranger, traveling through this world alone. There is no sickness, toil, nor danger in that fair land to which I go. I'm going home to meet my mother. I'm going home, no more to roam. I'm just going over Jordan. I'm just going over home. I know dark clouds will hover o'er me. I know my pathway's rough and steep, but golden fields lie out before me, where weary eyes no more will weep. I'm going home to meet my father. I'm going home, no more to roam. I'm just going over Jordan. I'm just going over I'll soon be free from every trial. This form shall rest beneath the sun. I'll drop that cross of self-denial and enter in at home with God. I'm going home to meet my Savior. I'm going home, no more to roam. I'm just going over Jordan. I'm just going over home. I'm just going over Jordan. I'm just going over
Francesco, thank you. That's outstanding. Thanks for bringing this here today. Can we talk about the very intense sounding 5-day production process with Joe Henry that happened in Dublin in order to bring this studio album to life?
Absolutely. Yeah, it was kind of an intense 5 days, 4.5 really. The last half of the last day was really just to listen to everything, And it was recorded much like this is, It was all in a big live room, and we were often facing each other with different microphone setups. Joe works a lot with Ryan Freeland, and he's just a genius engineer, and so kind of caught right away that the strength in the session was going to be in our flexibility, being able to swap instruments, and also the fact that the air itself was going to be alive with all of this stuff, with us playing together. So he also set up a bunch of mics in the room, and just it was a really very freeing process for us.
There was no pre-organized instrumentation or orchestration. So we came into the songs without really knowing what they were going to sound like. So for that reason, actually, that was very, it helped a lot. The fact that we could just swap instruments very quickly without having to reset up everything, which normally would take 20 minutes, half an hour. We were just able to say, hang on a sec, let's try this with the piano, or let's try this with the banjo.
And then he would kind of like dart in, he would go, and then he'd be out again. It was amazing, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it seems like that would serve the whole purpose of this album, to have these instruments interacting with each other in an actual space, as opposed to doing the hyper isolated thing. And I mean, this album is the antithesis of isolation.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was absolutely no separation. We were like nearly as close as this.
Yeah, and there was no baffling, nothing.
And Rihanna did all the vocals and the banjos at the same time, like this.
Yeah, so I couldn't if I didn't like the vocal track, tough cookies. It was like it all had to be together, and I think you hear that on the record. It's very kind of organic. Each track has its own sort of animus about it. It's not pieced together in any way,
And yet at the same time, a lot of them are first takes.
Yeah.
So we just came up with the idea, went in there. There's a lot of there was no clean start almost of any take because we're just talking like this and then we just start playing.
Yeah.
So they had to really do some surgery, try to make it look clean. Yeah. There's one track that I didn't manage to edit out, so you can hear me going, how does this go? And she goes, I don't know. And then start playing.
Immediately start playing. Yeah, it's hilarious. Yeah.
Nice. Well, hopefully everyone who is checking out this live stream right now is able to check out the album. There Is No Other. It's out on Friday on Nonesuch. So again,
yeah, and there's
congratulations.
actually a first listen. You can hear it on NPR in its entirety right now up until Friday.
Nice.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what's coming up second off of the album?
Yeah, we're going to do an instrumental. This is kind of the heart, at the heart of our collaboration. We kind of realized that this banjo and that drum, which is a frame drum, which I'll let Francesco talk about that maybe after we play it, we're so connected together when we started playing them. We just kind of, this tune called There Is No Other came out of us playing together. I wrote it while we were playing at the same time. So it's kind of inextricable, the two sounds for this. So I'm going to take off my scrunchie. Roll up my sleeve. You good?
Right. All right. Sounds great. Thank you. So can we talk a bit about the, we were getting into it a little bit in the first song break, but what the theme of this album, There Is No Other, is, and how you have been bridging gaps, bridging physical distances between cultures, between countries with the instrumentation on this album and with the songwriting itself.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the music led, and each of us have a very similar mindset when it comes to the music. We're both formally trained in different musics, but then we've been, since our education, have been really delving into the music of where we come from, In Francesco's case, the Mediterranean, and in my case, rural North Carolina, or just, the South, or just, African American music in the States. But and we've just been really digging into that and kind of seeing, these stories that are being sort of suppressed, and we've found these connections through the music and through the instruments, and kind of going, oh, we're actually telling the same story just across the ocean, and so there's that going on. And then there's the realizing that, all of these instruments are connected by a global sense of movement of peoples and people affecting each other and migration that's been going on for thousands of years. And if we can show that kind of effortlessly in the music, it's kind of easier to believe historically. It's, you know what I mean? It's like music is a representation of things that you might have to read 10 books to sort of get a feel. You can kind of do one song and go, oh, that totally makes sense, And so for us, that's how it definitely appears. We feel it in the music, and then we read the books, and we're like, oh, I see, I see why this makes sense,
Can we talk about the instruments themselves and how they epitomize that story that you're getting across?
Yeah, I mean, on the album there is, I don't know, 20 instruments maybe. So, but there is quite a bit of frame drums, which is this type of instruments that I'm playing here. So it's an instrument that exists in many places in the world. The definition of it being a drum in which the diameter is bigger than this, sort of the width. But this particular type of drums are very common in the Mediterranean area. So you find them everywhere. In North Africa, in the Middle East, in Spain, in southern Italy, sometimes with jingles. They belong to the tambourine families. And they're all very connected, So that's the interesting thing for me was to bring these instruments to the minstrel banjo, which in theory doesn't make any sense on the paper, apart from the fact that, they both have an African connection, This is maybe more North African, this is a little bit more South. But we're also discovering that there is a lot of hidden areas which kind of were in contact a lot more than we like to talk about, you know. So like, we talked about this, like a lot of the slaves that came to the Americas were Muslims, so came probably from regions that were actually almost North Africa, So anyway, this is just one of the many researches that we've been doing.
Yeah.
Other than that, do you want to say a word about the?
Yeah, and this is a replica of a banjo from the 1850s, and so this is the style of the very first commercial style of banjo. After it becomes an instrument that white people play, this is roughly the way it looked for a while before it became what we think of as the banjo now. And this that's why this banjo, you can see the connection a lot easier to the frame drum because it hasn't undergone that change yet. You can kind of tell this looks like a frame drum with a stick on it, and you see the connections, and the sounds are very much more similar because it's also a skin head. I mean, the construction is very similar, so the sounds have a lot more of a connection with each other than the modern banjo, which is why you wouldn't necessarily think of that if you were just playing a regular banjo. It took me getting into this to make this connection, and then we just kind of we found also connection in, it's like our diversity is our strength because the diversity is just different aspects of the same human experience, right? We just kind of, it sounds different here and it sounds different here, but it actually is like, it's saying the same thing, which is why some of these things go together so well. So there's this element of trance that's also kind of throughout the record, and that's in lots of different cultures from all over the world, and so the next piece we're going to play involves a very specialized kind of frame drum.
Yeah, so this is a drum that comes from Iran called daf. It's also frame drum, and as you can see inside, it's got all these little rings. It's a traditional frame drum used in folk music, but also used by Sufis for trance dancing, basically. So we talked about, you mentioned trance. In a lot of the aspects of Mediterranean music, there is this element of trance, and not only Mediterranean. So
Yeah, so we put, we found this is also, it is in a key, so it works perfectly with vocal music. So we've paired it with a Appalachian ballad that's been kind of a part of my repertoire for a long time that I learned from Sheila K. Adams from Western North Carolina.
Do you carry many DAFs with you, or is one DAF tunable to different keys, or is it like a harmonica where you have like a bag full of DAFs?
It's tunable within a certain realm.
it's got like a little. Traditionally, they're not tunable, but now they're making them tunable. So you can't tune it to any note. Usually, the diameter implies that you're within a certain range. But
Yeah, but see, this is brand new, made by.
These two drums are actually made in America. They're made by a company called Cooperman Drums.
And
Yeah.
it's just important also to say that none of these instruments are we saying that we are tradition bearers in these instruments and that we're playing them traditionally like they were, you know what I mean? It's like we come to them with a lot of respect and we know where they come from and immerse ourselves in the music as much as we can, and then who we are comes out in those instruments. Like I played with an older fiddler and learned his music in that style, but then when I play the banjo, I play it I play my way, and I don't pretend that I'm playing unadulterated pure music from the Carolina Piedmont. It's filtered through me, and so it's important as we have all of these different drums. It's kind of like all of them are part of our cultural DNA in one way or the other, but the way that we express them is kind of uniquely our own. So that's important to say.
Well, we appreciate it very much. Thank you so much for coming here and drawing these connections and elucidating some connections where perhaps musical connections didn't make sense or weren't clear before. And thanks for doing it so eloquently. We appreciate it very much.
No worries. So we gonna do this last song?
Yeah, please.
We got time? Cool. This is Little Margaret. Little Margaret sitting in her high-hall chair, combing back her long yellow hair, saw Sweet William and his new maid bride riding up the road so near. She threw down her ivory comb, threw back her long yellow hair. She said, I'll go down and I'll bid him farewell, and I'll never more go there. It was late in the night, they were fast asleep. Little Margaret appeared all dressed in white, standing at their bed feet, saying, how do you like your snow white pillow? How do you like your sheet? Saying, how do you like that pretty fair maid who lays in your arms asleep? Very well do I like my snow white pillow. Well do I like my sheet. Much better do I like that pretty fair maid who stands at my bed feet. He called a servant man to go saddle the dappled roan, and he rode for her father's house that night, knocked on the door alone, saying, is little Margaret in her room, or is she in the hall? Little Margaret's in her coal black coffin, with her face turned toward the wall. Unfold, unfold those snow white robes, be they ever so fine, for I want to kiss those cold, cold lips, for I know they'll never kiss mine. 3 times he kissed her cold, cold hand. Twice he kissed her cheek. Once he kissed her cold, cold lips, and he fell in her
All right. Thank you so much, Rhiannon. Thank you so much, Francesco. The There Is No Other tour is there's a number of East Coast dates announced all the way through November. I think including one at the Met here in New York on October 4th, which sounds super fancy. That's going to be fun for everybody. And Rhiannon, you've got tour dates as well announced. There's you just did three shows at Jazz at Lincoln Center with Wynton Marsalis and Ken Burns, which sound like that was most likely a ton of fun as well. East Coast dates through late May, including there's 4 of them at the Symphony Hall in Boston, May 22nd through May 25th. And then I'm going to see you at Newport. Newport
Excellent.
Folk is happening at the end of July. So
That's with our native daughters.
Yes, right. So that is going to be a ton of fun. Please travel safely through all of those, and best of luck with There Is No Other, which is out this Friday on Nonesuch. Thank you both.
Thank you.